Hello there, how's your day? Ame Gakita this. Alright, today we are going to talk about two companies in a way. And actually, when you look at these two companies, Ubisoft and ASUS, it's actually kind of interesting that when you look at the scenario when like Penguin Z0 talking about how Ubisoft is a horrible company along the line, or Gamer Nexus talking about ASUS is trying to scam out along the line. But when you kind of like look at the bigger picture, when you look at the whole scenario, it all tied down to one interesting point, which is basically one of the seven things called greed. I mean like in this era where everything is based on money. I mean, like even my own dad in real life always say that if you don't have the money, your word hold no strength. So it's kind of interesting that when you look at the whole scenario, when you look at the whole point, it's actually kind of interesting that when you look at the bigger company, they tend to be greedy. They tend to be like thinking about the money along the line. And today we are kind of going to discuss about the scenario, like is the issue, like is the company really greedy along the line, or is it that we are all overlooking the main issue of this company, that people are making noise over the recent years or over the recent month or whatever you want to call it along the line. And it's kind of interesting that when I kind of like look at the whole picture, it's really been there all along. It's just that a lot of people tend to like forget about things, and it's all right. I mean, like we all tend to forget a lot of stuff. It's just that do we actually go and follow up on those things, or kind of remember all these things along the line? So one of the issues we have to address and ask ourselves is that the rising price of game and computer hardware along the line. I mean, like for us, so it's definitely the hardware along the line, and for like computers like graphic cards, motherboard, all these things along the line, or maybe in games, the price of the game that have been rising over the year. I mean, like no matter how you ask me, for me who used to play game in the past, like you get to own the physical game itself, and the physical game doesn't even cost you too much. I mean, like $30 to $40 along the line for one game, and now the price of the game all costs you around, I mean, like some people say, hey, it can cost you around $70 to $90 per game, or maybe sometime when they want you to get the limited edition or things that with a little bit of benefit along the line, or maybe like pay to win code or pay to win scenario, and the price of the game can cost you up to $1,500, up to $1,000. I mean, like they will add in stuff. I mean, like even like some people will say that 1,000 isn't that a lot. I mean, like isn't the price around 130, 150 along that line? But the thing is, right, when you have like stuff that add in and like DLC, microtransaction, all these things, and it can cost you up to $1,000, I won't be surprised. I mean, like look at a lot of gacha game nowadays, like Genshin, or maybe like Fate Order along the line. Like you look at a lot of games, they always tend to have the microtransaction, and the price to like for those games actually can accumulate over time, and by the time when you realize that how much you spend on the game itself is really like over the $1,000, $2,000 along the line. So thing is, right, a lot of time when you look at the bigger picture, we do need to realize that the price that have been getting way over the limit is that gaming does get expensive over the years. Same thing for hardware, and it's kind of interesting that when you look at the whole picture, right, like some game, do it really justify they do deserve that kind of pricing, or is it that there is something that they are trying to squeeze out every single dollar of the consumers? I mean, like when you look at the whole picture, right, I actually discussed this, I can't recall when which random chat was it, or was it a night chat along the line, but I do recall talking about the price of stuff over the year have been getting expensive. I mean, like even nowadays people always talk about food being expensive, grocery being expensive, and even if there is a cheaper version, the food doesn't even taste nice along the line. But at the same time, when you look at like hardware for computer or games, in a way the price have been getting way and way more expensive. The price is getting ridiculous, and obviously people are going to highlight about it, and obviously there will be people who find it is they either don't bother with it, or they just fine with it, or maybe they are just a loyal fan of the company along the line and they just stick with it along the line. And I mean, like if you like ask me in my opinion, I think there is actually a few things that we might like a few points to talk about, and maybe we may be overlooking a lot of situations. I mean, like, let's say for example like ASUS. I mean, like, it doesn't really mean that it's ASUS trying to scam along the line, but I do recommend you guys to sorry, I do recommend you guys to take a look at Gamers Nexus, the link in the description below, about how ASUS is trying to scam us along the line. I used to use ASUS laptop as well as their motherboard because it is really good at the time. But then again, I mean, like, when you live long enough to become a villain, or when you became live long enough to become a greedy bastard along the line, and you tend to realize that sometimes what make the world move is actually not happiness, is not anger, is not whatsoever. The Earth will still move along with you. It's just that how are you gonna move along with it? And in this era, money is apparently the way to go. I mean, like, when you have no money, you can't do anything. You can't buy food, you can't pay bill, you can't pay rental, you can't do anything without money. And obviously, a lot of companies do think of way to grab as much money from consumers without us realizing it. So obviously, like, over the years, when price slowly hype up, a lot of people tend to not realize the price of game have been getting so much ridiculous that by the time people realize it, it's already too late, because it's already part of the norm. It's already people just think it's alright to have the price that is on that at that range. And the thing is, right, when you think about it, right, does it really deserve that pricing? I mean, like, sometimes they will say that, oh, when a game kind of like fell off, or when there's better game coming out, obviously there will be discount given by the game company along the line, and or even like company trying to make sure that the games get off the shelf and they want to kill it along the line, and the price drop all the way to like maybe $10-20. But how long do that take? Obviously we won't be aware of that. And even in current era, when like, especially in Japan, when they do have shop that sell second-hand games, it's really kind of interesting that a lot of games that you see, like, oh, they do sell it and a lot of people buy it in Japan, but when you go to the second-hand shop, I live in Japan for CSL, often more than not I got a lot of my game second-hand. It's not that I don't want to support the games first-hand, unless the game is, again, which I will talk more about digital copy, or games that or people claiming at comfy with not owning the game. So basically the thing is, right, when you think about like physical, let's say physical game, you tend to realize that, hey, you can just go to second-hand shop in Japan and get the game along the line. So the thing is, right, it's really weird that a lot of people not realizing that when you look at the whole picture, is it true that when they have a very good sales at the start mean the game is being a good game along the line? It doesn't. It just proves that at this point that people tend to not realize that good sales at the start does not mean it's a good game. It can mean that the game is just trash. It's just that people wanted to buy it, try it, and then maybe sell the physical copy, so that maybe those who want to try can get the game at a cheaper price, and then if they don't like it, they can sell it. If they like it, they can keep it along the line. So often more than not in Japan, second-hand, especially for second-hand shop, you always tend to see like a lot of game that seems to like sell at the start, and then a lot of people just speed run the game or just try out the game, and then they don't like it, or they like it along the line, or maybe they finish the game along the line and then they sell it to second-hand shop. So it's kind of interesting that in Japan you tend to easily find second-hand shop like 1 or 2 days after the game got released. It's often more than not, I always love this part about Japan is that if people say, oh, they release let's say a Pokemon game along the line, and the Pokemon game only just released on like 1 day or 2 days after that, and then you get to see like, oh no, where you can see a second-hand version of the game itself. And it really begs the question, like, is the game really worth buying in the first place just because it got a good sales? At this point of time, I mean, like, maybe no, I'm really not sure, but it just proves that sometimes when you see that a good sales at the start doesn't mean that it will last forever. If it can get into the shelf of a second-hand shop, it just really talk a lot. And at this point, a lot of game companies tend to think that, hey, we do not want the game to be sold off to second-hand shop along the line. And obviously the way to counter it is obviously with the words, or maybe the Ubisoft way of saying, comfortable with not owning the games. So what does that mean? Well, the thing is, right, a lot of games, if you guys think about it, right, a lot of mobile games or console game or maybe PC game, they tend to have a very interesting point is that a lot of game is no longer in physical form. You won't like have the CD or DVD to hold the game along the line, or even that you wouldn't even own the game if the company shut down. Like let's say for example, like if the game that you have been like, let's say for example you've been playing a MMORPG game and you've been like pumping money into it, like you spend around, let's say around $1,000, $2,000 into the game over because you bought like the cosmetic for it, or you use the money to get yourself a good weapon, which is basically the word pay to win along the line. And when at the end of the day the company go under and they shut down the server because they couldn't pay the server along the line, and then you lost every single thing, it's just basically back to the point that you are not owning the game because you just lost everything. But there will be some people who are fine with it, and also again there will be also people who are who will be mad because they just like lost. It's kind of like an investment. There will be time you win, there will be time you lost. It's how you accept it. So obviously at this point of time, when you think about a lot of game in the past, you used to have like if when we're talking about Game Boys or PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, Xbox One along the line, everything is just basically the CD, the you have to bought the cartridge along the line, the very old word for cartridge. I have not talked about cartridge long ago, but when you talk about like physical form of game along the line, obviously you will see those, and it is still technically in this era considered a relic or artifact, whichever you want to call it, because it is something that that can keep all the way to the future and let people take a look at it. But obviously there will be some people who doesn't like to keep this kind of thing, because in this era when space, not saying like the outer space along there, but more like you're in your own room, do you have the space to keep those game, or do you have the room to place those things in? And often more than not, it is something that a lot of people tend not to realize, that in the past when you like love to play game, you own up a lot of the CD or cartridge along the line, and you have to place it somewhere. Obviously in that era you can take up quite a lot of space, but obviously in current era people who prefer to like not have those things like. And the one of the interesting thing about people tend to not realize is that digital have been overtaking this world like a lot. And when I say mean a lot, it's like if you think about it, right? Let's say for example, Nintendo Switch. If you have to own the physical the game itself, right? Yes, you still can buy it, you can still get it along the line, but the only thing that you may not realize is that if you want to play that game, you have to like change the cartridge or change the game itself to another game. Although you may save out on space in the game itself, but the thing is, right, you have to like change the game in order to switch to a different game along the line or play the game along the line, which a lot of people doesn't like, because when you realize that when you can download the game digital version into the console itself and play from the console itself, you realize that hey, maybe if I can just everything own in digital form is fine, because at the end of the day you are just only, excuse me, like you are just only a digital version. You that is not real, it's not physical. And when you look at the whole picture, yeah, you can just switch the game along the line. You can just have the game, and you don't need to do the physical moment of taking out the old the game that you do not wish to play and then change the newer version. And it's kind of interesting that when people think about that, right, people tend to not realize that hey, that mean that you are you really fine not owning the physical form? It's just that convenient kind of like remove a lot of people hassle, and people tend to not realize that hey, maybe that is something that we do have to hold a little bit of accountability. I mean, like, hey, I'm not gonna say that game company like Ubisoft have to hold no responsibility. I mean, like, they kind of make it a norm themselves, and they just make it that, oh hey, maybe it's fine, and then we'll just keep doing the same thing again and again and again, and people will find it like it's normal, and people just be fine with it along the line. And obviously people who notice it are calling them out, because the reason why a lot of people kind of like not happy about game company like Ubisoft. And I mean, like, we can't deny, I mean, like, we can't really overlook situation like the DEI, the diversity situation, equality, or even to the point of that sometimes game company tend to use controversy moment like the black white was or ASEAN whatever thing, and then trying to cover up that the price of the game is actually very, very high. Obviously there will be some people who obviously go and buy the game, but again, when you look at the whole picture, does it really mean worth it? I mean, like, as Penguin or Charlie actually highlighted, is that they trying to make you pay $60 just to make sure that you have a little bit of the pay to win. But when you look at the whole scenario, the pay to win is not like instantly you're gonna take down the boss in one hit. It just basically give you one little edge, one little point of advantage over the rest of the player, and that's all. All for the sake of $60. I mean, like, if you say like a $10 increase for that advantage, I mean, like, yeah, maybe I can understand. But if you're gonna say along the line, hey, $60 for the sake of advantage, I'm actually questioning are they seriously trying to squeeze out every money and saying like, oh, it's worth every penny? It obviously not worth it. And again, it really back to the point of that, why is game price expensive? I mean, like, if you look at the price of computer hardware along the line, it is kind of like there is something we tend to overlook, and that price always rise but hardly drop. And it's really hold true in a lot of countries when people think about it. I mean, sure, people will go with the idea that things that is old or things that doesn't sell well, they have to drop the price in order to kill the stock and in a way get new stock in. But the thing is, right, it really make you wonder, like, is it really that worth for the company to start selling older item at a discount price? I mean, like, at the end of the day, they can come up with new stuff easily, and the price, they can just increase the price of the newer version, and the price of the older version will be like just step new there or stay there, and then people will be like, hey, the older version seems to be cheaper, maybe I should go for the cheaper version. And at the end of the day, they don't even need to decrease the price of the older version hardware, and people will just go and get the older version thinking that they are getting a cheaper version, they are getting a bargain along the line, when in fact they are actually still, like, the company is still earning it. So let's say, for example, like for ASUS, obviously Gamer Nexus talk about how ASUS is scamming people using the service or making people pay for stuff that doesn't make sense along the line. And it really begs the question, like, we are paying so much for their service already, why are they still trying to squeeze out every penny out of the consumer? It's really back to the question, like, it's really that they are being, maybe they are greedy, maybe yes, maybe no, maybe I don't know. But it's really something that, again, like I mentioned, is back to the price itself. Like, does it really deserve that price in the first place? Obviously, some people will say that the price for hardware nowadays is not cheap. But when you think about the graphic card, in a way, the story about graphic card, it really kind of interesting that people not realize that there was a moment during the COVID period when graphic card was in demand. Back into 2020 and 2021, there is a huge demand for graphic card, because the thing is, right, everyone have to stay at home. So in order to stay at home, what do you need? You need a better computer. And obviously, when you have a computer, what do you want to have for your computer? A better graphic card. So during that moment, graphic card tend to be in demand, and there was really a moment where you can't really get a graphic card easily because they all sold out. And the one thing a lot of people had to not realize is that there is something called price rise due to in demand, and obviously it is something that caused graphic card to the price of the graphic card to skyrocket. But at the same time, when you look at the whole scenario, I don't think it's just only graphic card that is skyrocket. I mean, like, RAM, there's a little, the price has also skyrocket in a way. Motherboard do have the rise, everything, and obviously a lot of people will say that for the technology they are using, obviously it justified the price. But when you look at, like, the way they come out with the price, it does not make sense, because at the end of the day, they can just kind of like put a higher up price, and that is way higher from the older version. And I mean, like, you can just look at the price. They will just say that, oh, the older version is cheaper now. But when you look at the price, does the older version really price drop all the way? It really not a lot. I mean, like, some people would argue that, hey, there is a 10% decrease or 20% decrease, but obviously they would, when you ask them, like, is it a 50% decrease or 80% decrease, I don't think they will argue with that. They will just say that there is a decrease of the price. Because the thing is, right, what a lot of people need to understand in terms of marketing, in order to make sure people buy the older stuff and thinking that the older stuff is cheaper, while ensuring that the price of the newer version is something that if people really want it, they can either buy it and not realizing that it's actually expensive. And if people do find it expensive, they can go for the cheaper version, which is the older version, but not realizing that the price was not dropped a lot, whereas the newer version tend to be, they can just put up a high price. That is called marking up. And what is marking up? So basically, if you go to like a clothes store along the line, and the clothes they can say, oh, it's 50% off, and the price of the clothes mean, let's say for example, it costs $10, but in fact a clothes can I'm only giving an example, it does not mean all the clothes, okay? So take a few pins also and throw the side at the screen if you need to. But I mean, like, if you think about it, right, if the price of the clothes costs, let's say $2, and they, in order to like sell at a higher price, how much do they sell it? They can mark it up to $20-30 along the line and say, hey, it's very, very expensive. And even if they discount it at 50%, $10 is still way more than a $2 base price. And obviously there will be people still buying it, thinking that they are making a profit, or they are not losing out a lot, when in fact they are still giving the money to the company. And it is what is happening in for games and for hardware in overall. But does it really mean, is it really true? Again, I mentioned, we have to look from the other side. I mean, like, I have to be fair, okay? I can't be just saying that, oh, all the price is really, really cheap, it should be cheap. When you think about like the price, does it really, what are we really paying? Sometimes some company will give you the argument that saying that, hey, we need to pay the employees, we need to pay for the rental, we have to pay for the shipping, we have to pay for this, we have to pay for that, whatsoever. We understand. We have to understand, because the thing is, right, when you think about the cost price of a game or hardware along the line, there is the labor fee, there is the salary, there is the shipping, there is like legal fee along the line, there is or even whatsoever, and it really does justify in a way that they have to make some profit in order to pay for those people. But at the end of the day, are we really paying for what it is worth? It is really something that we have to ask ourselves. And obviously, a lot of people tend to not realize that every time when we look at the bigger picture, or when we are looking at the smaller, finer detail, we tend to overlook all these things. Is basically that, are we truly paying for what it is worth? And what does that mean? Well, obviously I'm actually referring like this, like for ASUS, when they say that, oh, we pay for the warranty, but when you go and give them like, oh, there's something wrong with this motherboard, or there's something wrong with the graphic card, or anything that is or maybe like there's something wrong with the game console or the laptop along the line, and the company can just kind of like tweak it, spoil it along that line and say, hey, there's something wrong with it, it's not covered under the warranty, you have to pay extra money. Again, it's really back to the point that they are greedy, they may be trying to squeeze out every money out of you along the line. And at the same time, are we really, like, if we, let's say for example, if we pay $1,000 for a laptop and there's something wrong with the laptop, and we go to the for the warranty, it's still covered, and they kind of like spoil it and they say, oh, it's not covered. Is it really mean that, are we really paying $1,000 for a piece of junk? I mean, like, it's really something that we have to ask ourselves. And obviously there will be some people saying yes, some people will be saying no, but at this point it's really hard to know. And we can't really be saying like, is it really worth every penny at this point of in this era whatever, when like greed is really like what they are thinking. They're just thinking about trying to squeeze out every money out of consumer. And obviously it's really back to the point again, like, is it really worth it? Because the thing is, right, when you think about it, right, we are not even paying at any we are paying for everything, and yet the company is not having enough. And what does that show? It really mean that the price we have been paying has all been a joke. It's just being overlooked by the company because they just say that if we can squeeze out a lot of money out of you, we are fine with it. And again, back to the point, like I know some people will say, am I deflecting? Like, are we really paying for the price for the employee or the design or whatever? I don't think it's true. Like I mentioned, it's a joke. And why would I say that? Because when you think about like overall, right, who is having the higher pay? I mean, like every employee, sure, they will say that, oh, they are being paid $2,000, $3,000, or whatever they want you to believe along the line. But when the company do go under or trying to recover the loss along the line, who are the ones who get laid off? Is the employees. They will just say that, oh, 100 or 1,000 or 3,000 or 400 or 10,000 employee got laid off because of reasons. And I mean, like, if there are people who really not doing their job properly and they get laid off, understandable. But when the company is thinking of way to squeeze out every penny out of you, why are you not like keeping all the good employee or employees that can help to lessen the blow of the whatsoever, or maybe kind of like help to improve the company in a way, but instead you just lay them off? And who get to stay? The higher up. And again, it's really kind of interesting when you look at a lot of people like the board or the chairman or the CEO or whatever you call them along the line, and when you look at their salary, it's really like sometimes it can be 5-figure, it can be 6-figure, it can be 7-figure along the line. And you have to ask, do they really deserve that price? Are they the one who make the game, or are they the one just, hey, I want to make this game, you all do it, I follow my idea and make sure that you all do the rest, and I'm just going to have a drink in my office and relax, and by the time maybe like next month you guys should have the game out along the line? Like, isn't that weird that you get so much pay for doing so little, whereas when there is like a loss in profit, you just lay off those same people that work for you along the line? Like, people say that the people who work for the company has to stay loyal, but the thing is, right, is the company really being loyal to their own workers, their own employees along the line? And it's back to the point on, again, like I mentioned, if they can't make any more profit, what is the best way to squeeze out every money? Raising the price. They can just make the hardware or maybe the game more expensive along the line, and people can't argue because they will just say that if you don't want it, you can don't buy it. But at the end of the day, there will be people who willing to spend that money to get those stuff, and we can't stop them, because if people wish to have those items, they will in the end pay it. They will in the end get it, and that's what the company want. And in the future, even if they they won't even lower the price. They will just say, hey, even if you raise the price, there will be people buying it. And even if you're trying to hurt them, you can't stop everyone from trying to buy the stuff they need, because when there is a demand for it, people will pay even if the price is expensive. And it's something that a lot of people not realizing that sometimes it's really that it is happening. It is something that is people tend to overlook. And at this point, I can't even say that is it really true that the company is greedy. I mean, like, they can just raise the price and just say that, oh, it's justified because they have to pay for this and pay for that, and people just believe it, whatever they think it is. And is it really true? Hard to know. But again, like I mentioned, we have to check. Like, we have to check and ask ourselves: is it really mean that if I pay for this, am I getting what I pay for, as well as if there is issue, will the company give the best service that worth the money that I pay for? And at this point of time, I mean, like, it's really kind of questionable. And again, like I mentioned, like, I'm not gonna just blame that the high salary of those higher up. There can be also reason like the company have to say they have to pay for rent along the line. So maybe the office they rent or the things they have to pay for is also on the rise because those people want to get squeezed out of the company along the line. Or maybe in this scenario, like let's say Ubisoft, some people will say that, oh, they are being they have a consultant firm that's called maybe Sweet Baby Inc. along the line, or maybe it is a thing. I mean, like, who knows? But if they have to pay like a lot of money to Sweet Baby Inc. for consultation that probably make the game even worse, but they end up paying the company because of consultation fee along the line, obviously they will raise the price of the game because they want to make the money. They have to make a profit back. They have to earn the money back. So if you think about it, do we really want to pay for something that we do not like? Or are we going to pay for the game that maybe some people might like it, but is it, when you think about the game, is some of the money do rub to the consultation fee because they, or maybe they say, oh, they really pay for it, but the thing is that the price will just end up being in part of the price, base price along the line, who knows? It's really like, it's very questionable. But then again, it's really, at the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves, are we really paying for what it's worth? Or is it the company trying to trick us into thinking that everything is expensive now? But who knows? I mean, like, this is all my speculative thought. It's just my random chat. But so at the end of the day, I still have to say this. You can take whatever I say with a huge spin or sword and throw the sword at the screen if you need to. But if you do have your own view, your own opinion, your own take, do write in the comment below and we can discuss it further. And if you do like this video, don't forget to press the like button and subscribe for more random chat where I talk about stuff that never follow a second trend, but sometimes I may be talking about big stuff with the final detail of the bigger picture. Who knows? I mean, like, it depends on my mood at the time. But then again, the only thing I can say for you is that I hope you guys have a nice day or night. Bye.